As I stepped out of my front door one sunny morning, I couldn't help but notice the strange symbols etched onto my next-door neighbor's front door. I had always found the family to be a bit odd, but this was a whole new level of weird. Curiosity getting the best of me, I decided to do a little investigating. As I walked up to their house, I could hear faint chanting coming from inside. It sent chills down my spine. What on earth could they be doing in there? I crept closer to the window, trying to get a better look, when suddenly the chanting stopped. I froze in place, wondering if I had been caught. Just then, the door swung open, and there stood Mr. Thompson, my next-door neighbor. His eyes were dark and empty, sending a shiver down my spine. "Can I help you?" he asked, his voice devoid of any warmth. I just wanted to say hello," I stammered, feeling a pit of unease in my stomach. Mr. Thompson's smile was cold and calculating as he invited me in. Against my better judgment, I followed him inside. The house was dimly lit, the air heavy with incense. As I looked around, I noticed strange symbols painted on the walls and a table covered in candles and what looked like sacrificial offerings. My heart pounded in my chest as I tried to wrap my head around what I was seeing. Mr. Thompson led me to the living room, where a group of people were gathered around a large, ornate altar. They were dressed in black robes, their faces hidden behind masks. The atmosphere was tense, as if they were waiting for something to happen. "What is this?" I whispered, feeling a sense of dread creeping over me. Mr. Thompson's smile widened. "We are a family, a chosen family," he said cryptically, "and soon you too will be a part of us." I felt a cold chill run down my spine as I realized what he meant. This was no ordinary group of friends. This was a cult, and they were up to something. As the night wore on, the chanting grew louder and more intense. I watched in horror as the group performed dark rituals, their faces twisted with glee. I knew I had to get out of there, but every time I tried to leave, Mr. Thompson would block my path. Finally, as the clock struck midnight, the cultists gathered around the altar, a look of anticipation on their faces. Mr. Thompson turned to me, his eyes burning with madness. "It's time," he said, his voice filled with malice. "Time to make your sacrifice." I felt a surge of panic as I realized what they were planning. They were going to kill me as part of their twisted ritual. I struggled against Mr. Thompson's grip, my heart racing with fear. I knew I had to find a way to escape before it was too late. Without thinking, I lunged for the door, pushing past the cultists who tried to grab me. I sprinted out into the night, the cold air hitting me like a shock. As I ran blindly through the darkness, the sound of chanting still echoing in my ears, I knew I couldn't let them catch me. I needed to find help, to expose what was happening in that house before more innocent people fell victim to their madness. My heart pounded in my chest as I ran through the darkened streets, the sounds of the cultists chanting still ringing in my ears. I knew I had to find help, but I also knew that I couldn't trust anyone. Who knew how far their influence? I ducked into an alley, my breath coming in short, panicked gasps. My mind raced with thoughts of how to escape, how to expose the truth about the cult and save myself from becoming their next victim. As I leaned against the cold brick wall, trying to calm myself down, I heard footsteps approaching. I tensed, ready to run again, but the figure that emerged from the shadows was not a cultist. It was a young woman, her eyes wide with fear and confusion. "Are you okay?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "I saw you running, and are you being chased?" I hesitated, unsure if I could trust her, but something in her eyes told me that she was genuine, that she wanted to help. So I quickly relayed the events of the evening, the strange symbols on my neighbor's door, the dark rituals inside the house, and the cult's plan to sacrifice me. The woman's face paled as she listened, her eyes filled with horror. "We need to get you out of here," she said, taking my hand and leading me further into the alley. "I know a place where we'll be safe." With a newfound sense of hope, I followed her through the winding streets, staying hidden from view as we made our way to an abandoned building on the outskirts of town. The woman led me inside, where we found a small group of people huddled together, all looking just as terrified as we were. As we caught our breath and tried to make sense of what was happening, the woman introduced herself as Maria. She explained they were all survivors of the cult, people who had managed to escape its clutches. They had banded together to try and bring down the cult from the inside, to stop their reign of terror once and for all. I was amazed by their bravery and determination, and I knew that I had to join them in their fight. Together, we formulated a plan to expose the cult, to gather evidence of their activities and bring them to justice. But as we started to make our move, a sudden knock on the door filled us with dread. Could it be the cult coming to find us? Or was it someone else, someone who could help us in our mission? With bated breath, Maria crept to the door and peered through the peephole. Her eyes widened in shock as she turned back to us, her face pale. "It's Mr. Thompson," she whispered, her voice trembling. "He's found us." As fear gripped my heart once again, I knew that our battle against the cult was far from over. But with Maria and the other survivors by my side, I also knew that we had a fighting chance. Together, we would uncover the truth, expose the darkness that lurked in the shadows, and put an end to the cult's sinister reign once and for all. And as I steeled myself for the confrontation that lay ahead, I vowed to never again let fear control me. Because when faced with the darkness of the unknown, the only way to defeat it is to stand strong and fight back